Okay, we're going to try and write the equation of a quadratic given these two x-intercepts. One of them is at -2 plus root 7. The other one is at -2 minus root 7. Do you see how it's really two of them in that one expression? Yeah, so you've got -2 plus the root 7 and -2 minus the root 7. That's where it's crossing the x-axis, in those two locations. Then it gives me the other point, 1, 2. So just like we did when those, so I don't need this anymore. These are my two x-intercepts. Remember the formula, you've got a times x minus p times x minus q. This is just p and this is just q. Oh, sorry. The thing that gets weird about them is that they have two pieces, right? There's a 2 and then plus a root 7 and then a -2 minus a root 7. So when you go to subtract them, you have to subtract them both. That's the only difference. So I'm going to start off by putting in p and q. Now, be careful. You have to minus this whole thing. So if I minus this whole thing, what's it really look like? This is now plus 2, and this is now minus root 7. There's p plugged in. Now I do the same thing with q. So it's going to be x, and again I have to minus this whole thing. So this is now plus 2, and this is now plus root 7. Okay? So there it is with p and q plugged in. Then I like to go in and plug in x and y. You could do it all in one, but I like to separate it. So now, remember, that's x, that's y, so I'm just going to pop those in where they go. 2 equals a times x is 1 plus 2 minus root 7. X is still 1 plus 2 plus root 7. Are we okay so far? Yeah? Now, I have to simplify all this. You can simplify in here. You know what 1 plus 2 is. So, simplify it. 1 plus 2 is now 3 minus root 7. 1 plus 2, again, I have 3 plus root 7. That's not so bad. Remember, now I'm trying to solve for a. So now I'm going to try and FOIL these two things together. Right? Simplify this right-hand side a little bit more. So let's FOIL that right-hand side together. That would be 9 plus 3 root 7 minus 3 root 7. And then what's negative root 7 times positive root 7? -7, correct. And you'll notice there's a whole bunch of math and magic that happens right here. How convenient. Look, gone, gone. And then 9 minus 7 is just 2. So that means a is 1. That's not so bad. So it's a little messy up here, putting them in. But then once you put them in and then put in the x and the y, simplify things, it usually comes out pretty nice. All right? Now I'm not quite done because that's not the equation of the parabola, of course. But I just take that and I plug it back in up at the top. So my final answer is going to look like this. Y equals, a is now 1, so you can write a 1 if you want, but you really don't need it. X plus 2 minus root 7, and x plus 2 plus root 7. There's my equation of this quadratic. Does that make sense? Okay. So, if I don't specify what form it has to be in, you could leave your answer like this. If you have to give your answer in standard form, which I think you did on this, that makes things a little bit more annoying. But it's totally doable. How would I change this into standard form? You gotta just multiply these two things together. Right? You just multiply these two together. Luckily, we just have a 1 out there, so we don't really have to worry about that. So let's just multiply these two things together. But again, if I don't specify, stop here. Right? If I just say give an equation of the quadratic given these characteristics, stop. Right? You'd be done. But they said standard, and you do want to get used to it, because what happens when you take the SATs and it's multiple choice and all the answers are in standard form, and you're here. You know what I mean? So you need to be able to convert from one to another. So let's do it. I don't care about that 1, right, because it's just a 1. So how do you multiply a 3 by 3? Do you remember? No? 3 by 3? Good thing I know how. You take the first term and you multiply by all 3 of these. Take the second term, multiply by all 3, and take the last and multiply by all 3. That's it. You just multiply everybody in here by everybody in here. You're going to get one big long line of terms, and then you can combine like terms if you have any. All right, so let's do x times all of that. X squared plus 2x plus x root 7. Is that all right? Now let's do the 2 times all of that, right? Because now I'll do the middle term times all of that. So 2 times all that plus 2x plus 4 plus 2 root 7. And then I hope I can fit it on. I didn't leave myself enough room. Now I'll do negative root 7 times all of this. So that'll be a negative x root 7 minus 2 root 7. And then what will negative root 7 times positive root 7 be? Negative 7. Whoops. One thing I like to do before I combine any like terms, just to make sure I didn't miss any, if I'm doing a 3 by 3, how many terms should that come out to be? 9. Just double check that you have 9. 1, 2, 3, 4, 6, 7, 8, 9. Okay. So if you were doing a 2 by 3, you should have ended up with 6. If you did a 4 by 5, you should end up with 20. Oh my gosh. But it's nice to check, because if I missed something somewhere, then I at least know, okay, at least I didn't miss anything. I should have 9, I have 9. Now let's combine like terms where we have them. So let's see. There's no other x squared, so we'll just start off with x squared. Let's just do the plain old x's. I have 2x, 2x, and I'm going to leave the x root 7s in a minute. So 2x and 2x is 4x. Now let's look at those x root 7s. Oh my gosh, what do you know? There's a plus x root 7 and a minus x root 7. Well, that sure was convenient. Now look at just the regular numbers. You have a plus 2 root 7 and a minus 2 root 7. Wow! That's pretty convenient. So the only thing that's left is 4 minus 7, which is negative 3. Oh, wow. That's so cool. So there is this very same equation in standard form. Okay? You could always go back and double check yourself if you really wanted to. You could solve this. Pretend it was the quiz that I gave you the other day, where I just gave you a quadratic and I said solve it. Do you want me to check it real quick? Why not? The video's still going, so we'll hope for the best. Here's a check. If you were going to solve this thing, can you solve it by square rooting? No, because b is not 0. Can I factor it? So are there factors of negative 3 that have to be a positive 4? Negative 3 that have to be a positive 4. I don't think so. Too bad. So sad. Would you do complete the square on this one? Yeah, I would. Because a is 1, b is even. So completing the square is going to be pretty easy. So I'm going to plug in a 0 for y. And I always like to put it on the other side, right? So there's my equal 0. And then if I'm completing the square, what do? Add 3 to the other side. So again, this is not required, but if you're sitting there, you finished a quiz, you have some time, you want to double check your answers because you're not sure, do it. And then I need half of that and square it. So that magic number is going to be 4. Add 4 to both sides. This side becomes x plus 2 squared. So then I go ahead and do what? Square root both sides. X plus 2 equals positive and negative root 7. Don't forget that. And then I'm almost there. I just have to minus that 2 from the other side. X equals negative 2 plus minus root 7. Huh. Are those numbers familiar? I hope so, because look. Wow. I really did do it right. So, not only can I take the zeros and turn it into the quadratic, I can also take the quadratic and solve it and find the zeros. I can go either way now. And they match. Hey, that's not so bad. Another thing you could have done to check is just take in your point that they gave you, which was what, 1, 2. You could have plugged in 1, 2 right in here. That probably would have been a lot faster. But at least you got to make sure that 1, 2 works in that. So if you want to check that real quick, if it was 1, 2, let's see. That would be 1 plus 4 minus 3. Is 1 plus 4 minus 3 really 2? So that's a pretty good sign that I did it right. Okay. Hooray!